The global insurance industry is more than a market.
It's a movement powered by 3 million professionals around the world.
Together, we support communities as they rebuild after disaster.
Help businesses through risk and uncertainty.
Protect individuals as they plan for brighter futures.
This impact isn't possible without people.
That's why we attract, grow, and retain the very best talent.
Because when every voice is heard,
When every person feels they belong.
We don't just build careers.
We build a better tomorrow.
Belonging builds tomorrow.
Belonging builds tomorrow.
Belonging builds tomorrow.
Belonging builds tomorrow.
Belonging builds
Belonging builds
Belonging builds tomorrow.
To kick things off, we'd love to hear from you. So we have a Slido, so please scan the QR code that's on the screen now. And the question is, what does thriving look like to you? If you haven't registered, this would be a great time to take your chance to put yourself into the lucky draw. So we'll pause for a second, and then we'll come through and see what the Slido brings up. In the Slido, there will also be a Q&A tab, which please feel free to ask questions throughout the session. We'll address them at the end from a number of different perspectives across the panel. Now I know what we're like.
Here we are.
That was quick. Okay, whilst everyone's still answering, I mean, one that I'd say resonates with me is definitely motivated. I won't ignore the other M on the screen. Energized and balanced, really good answers. And look, the variety of responses we've got up there is what makes today's discussion really valuable. We're excited to hear from our panelists. So whilst there are more responses going up, let me just introduce our panelists. So on my left, I have Dr. Vanessa San. Dr. Vanessa is the Wellbeing leader at Mercer Marsh Benefits Singapore, as well as being a member of the Singapore Psychological Society and an ICT accredited coach. Dr. Vanessa will be today giving her expert opinion on identifying warning signs of burnout, as well as how to best foster belonging environments in line with modern scientific principles. Next to Dr. Vanessa, we have Michael Dannemann. As the head of HR for Asia Pacific, the Middle East and Africa at Munich Re, Michael leads a dynamic and diverse team across multiple regional offices, together supporting the strategic and operational goals of one of the world's leading reinsurance companies. Michael's knowledge of how the corporate world can respond and support well-being will inform us today about empowering teams to grow, develop, and thrive. And then on the end, we have Ching Phay. So Chu spent her early professional career as a chartered accountant in Australia. After relocating to Singapore, she is now active in the wellness space. Ching will be helping us to understand the connection between physical and mental, and some real-world strategies to take ownership of an individual's well-being. So, start the panel. I'll come to you, Michael, first. To start, briefly from your perspective, could you explain to us what does mental well-being look like to you beyond just the absence of illness?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and really appreciate being here. It's a bit interesting to see all the cameras pointed at one, a little bit like Bruce Springsteen, so that must be a cool feeling. Any which ways, from a corporate perspective, right, mental well-being is all about fulfillment at work, right? It's about belonging to a team, a group, a unit, a division, and then going for a common goal, thriving in the workplace, then obviously also means making some money, as we learned from the slide just now, right? And then whatever you want to do with that money, spend it on family, friends, hobby, Lego, whatever you're in. I think if you have a fulfilled working life, then you can more easily manage the struggles that you may have in your private life, right? And vice versa. Then if you really have a stressful time in the workplace, then you need a private, intact life where you can draw some energy from. From my experience, if both of those, private and professional life, are stressful, then things get really, really complicated and difficult. And I think as most organizations, we have to provide a platform where people feel that they have a safe space, that they can thrive and perform at their very, very best.
That's great. Thank you very much. Could you pass the microphone one way or the other? I'd like to get another opinion. So Ching, what does mental well-being look like to you?
Okay, hi everybody. In my case, I'm touching from what Michael has shared, for that support to come in place. I think it's really important that there's that meaningful connection that's formed, communication, open and honest. So that way we feel supported, we can contribute more and thrive as a community and also in your workplace.
Thank you. Let's go for the third. Come on.
All right. So I know that I'm here, and I've told the panel here that I'll take the geek version. So I am a ex-clinical psychologist, so I still identify as a psychologist in my workplace. But for me, mental well-being, you can't talk about it without seeing it as a continuum, right? From on one end, you have people who are suffering, who are with mental disorders, who have issues in mental health. And then in the middle, you have people, we call it the yellow or the orange, who are at risk. So these people have signs, have symptoms, but not full blown. And then on the green end, you have people who are well, right? People who not having any symptoms or signs and who are doing okay. So I think when we're talking about mental well-being in the absence of sickness, we're really looking at people in the yellow or the orange, as well as in the green region, right? But to me, if I were to say what mental well-being looks like in these two zones, it would be having that ease and having the ability to fully enjoy, right? And enjoy different aspects of life, be it work, family, social, career, even fitness, right? So being able to enjoy, then thrive, and then moving to the next level of flourishing there. So that would be my geek answer.
Yeah. Let's stay in the red part of your answer. So burnout, unfortunately, has become a buzzword, but we know that impact can be really real. From your experience, what are the primary organizational drivers contributing to burnout? Is there anything that you would put at the top of that list? Is there anything you'd like to talk about that you think people can change?
I think when we're talking about risk factors or drivers, I think we need to look at it in two buckets. There are drivers that I think are common to all organizations today, right? Geopolitical risk, economic risk, feeling of instability, insecurity. I think that's coming upon all of us, right? And it's not unique to one organization or the other. So, what this causing is, headcount freezes, people taking on more jobs, people feeling loaded, people feeling that they have to work more and longer. And they're feeling anxious, right, for their jobs. They're feeling anxious for their own financial security and their own financial well-being because everything is getting more expensive. How do I pay school fees? So I think this is very real and it's happening on a larger scale. And, I would dare to say globally. But I think there's also another bucket of factors that are organizational. And this has to do with things like toxic cultures, right? Is there a culture of overwork where everybody in the company knows that, you're either up or you're out, or you have to put in increasingly long hours to be seen as successful? Is there leadership toxicity where people are saying that, you can't really be seen to go on leave even. You need to report at all odd hours. You need to play political games. That can cause a lot of stress. That can be extremely oppressive. Is there issues with work design, right? Is the work just too big a scope? Is there work process issues? Is this just too much work? So I think, it's really helpful to think about it in terms of two different buckets.
That's really helpful. Thank you. You touched briefly on the corporate answer and the corporate responsibility. Michael, could I have the same answer from you in terms of what organizational drivers of burnout do you see in today's workplace?
Yeah, thanks for that. And I really want to jump on what you said, right? I think in general, work ethics, especially in this part of the world, is very, very high, right? So people tend to work long hours. They take not a lot of leave. And there's that tendency to always have to be on, right? And this also is happening very much in the younger generation, right? I get emails midnight, 1 o'clock or so from some of the younger generation, and I really think this is not what is expected, not what is desired by organizations, but what is a little bit maybe the internal stress that people put on themselves, right? So I think. To that toxic work behavior and the expectations, I think organizations have to make sure that they have the right tone from the top, that they have the right code of conduct in place, the right governance and guidelines. But then it really is also about leading by example, right? The managers have to lead by example, and they have to say, okay, I'm not going to respond at 11 at night. I'm not going to send emails on the Saturday, and so on.
Thank you. Could you pass your microphone to left? Ching, it's the same question to you, but another topic that might come up in this answer would be could you answer around remote or hybrid work? Do you think that can cause a symptom of burnout? Is a catalyst for burnout?
Yeah. So I think it's a mixed double-edged sword here. You've got the positive, which is, I think there's the flexibility. I'm a teacher myself, fitness class, and I actually like to see a lot more people come during their lunch breaks for workouts. I think they found that balance and the ability to then go, I'll catch up on my work later. And I think that's great. But at the same time, there's also that, oh, don't mind me, I've got my phone around in case I've got to be on a call. So it's like going, if you've got that communication with the boss that you get the job done, I think you can be here to do your workout. Midday, it's your lunch break, right? But at the same time, I've also been in situations where I've seen my husband himself, he's constantly on calls all day because of the whole hybrid work arrangement. So by the time it's dinner time, he's like, oh, I've got to go back and do some work. So then it becomes 8, 9, and it's like, I'm still doing work, I've got to prepare my slides. So I think there's no boundary that's been set, and there's this confusion, blur lines. And we recently had a baby as well. So the baby's 11 months old, and he's helping me tag team so that I can have my me time, right? And when that happens, he's like, oh, I've got to catch up on work even later. So I think it's great. Like, he gets to work at home, he gets to support me, but at the same time, and his boss is really great about that. But at the same time, there's that challenge of going, well, you're still working at 12, 11, then you're tired the next day. So I think it's both a positive and negative, but at the same time, communication and policies that can come and support, and also telling him not to work. Your meals can wait tomorrow if possible. Yeah.
Thank you. So it sounds to me as if it's a slippery slope from the answers that all three of you given you. It's not one individual catalyst. It's not one thing that's driving burnout. If I could come to Dr. Vanessa next, could you, from your professional opinion, give us some warning signs people in the office? How do we support individuals?
I think it's important, maybe just to set the scene, to understand, what burnout is, right? So we know that burnout is not a diagnosable diagnosis, not a diagnosable condition, right? It's something that's recognized by WHO, but it's not something that, you can see a clinician and go, aha, you've got burnout, and, you get an MC for that. It's a syndrome, right? It's an occupational syndrome that's characterized by prolonged and unmanaged stress and chronic overload, right? Chronic overwork. That's a simple version, right? But I think in reality, to really understand burnout, it has to be seen on a case-by-case basis. I know it sounds a bit like a cop-out answer, but it's so nuanced, right? Because it involves not just someone's exhaustion, but it involves identity. It involves a sense of purpose. It involves, what is meaningful? Am I effective? So a person in burnout can actually feel really ineffective and really devalue, what they're doing in their life. So I think, when we're talking about signs to look out for, I think it's 3 broad categories. The first one that I would say is exhaustion. And it's not just physical exhaustion, but it's also emotional exhaustion. So a person feels chronically fatigued and I'm just tired of, everything and tired of work. So that's a big sign. I think the second one is this feeling of cynicism or negativity, where they feel this negativity and disconnection to what they're doing, right? You might see the eye rolling. You might see, what's the point? I don't really care. It doesn't matter anyway. And I think the third thing that we're looking at is performance, right? So how they show up, right? So they might be late, they might be absent, they might have trouble making decisions, trouble concentrating, performance goes down, they're less motivated and less engaged, right? So those three buckets that we're looking for generally are the signs of burnout. So again, right, because it's not a diagnosable condition, it isn't like you tick 3 and then, you're diagnosed, but it's really looking for red flags or patterns and trends over time that people need to just be aware about.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting that the trends can be so varied between individuals. It's very much a personal thing rather than something that you can immediately go, right, that is burnout or that is not. But,
yeah.
If I can go to Ching quickly. For an individual that may be experiencing or think that they will experience burnout in the near future, what's one immediate practical step that can be taken to start addressing symptoms or problems that they're having?
I think it's got to be simple and something you can do. And everyone can spare 10, 15 minutes away from their phone. That call can wait, perhaps. And just go for a walk, especially if you're in a hybrid work arrangement. So I always send my husband out to get lunch. So he goes out and he just has that break. And I think just seeing people, community, a bit of nature as well. So just a short 10, 15 minutes is all you need, I think, from that entire day, just to yourself.
Thank you. I'd just like to remind everyone that questions can be asked all the way through, and we'll go at the end, so please put them through. Let's shift to belonging. Dr. Vanessa, again, how do you define a genuine sense of belonging in a professional context? And do you think that can be linked to mental well-being and ultimately burnout?
I think, this is a bit more of a nebulous topic, right? This whole sense of belonging. But I think, in my opinion, it's really much about feeling accepted, included, and then also valued. So these 3 things, right, where you genuinely feel that in your team or the organization that you're in, that you're not, there's not gossip going around or complaining or judgmental attitudes. So I think that it's less about the fit and it's more about the culture, if you ask me, right? Where people just have that culture of acceptance, inclusivity, and wanting to appreciate a person for what they bring to the table. So that to me is a sense of belonging. And it's not about just lip service, right? Lots of organizations say, yes, of course, we include everybody and it's written on the wall, whatever. But I think all of you probably have experiences where where there's a sense of belonging, and when there isn't, when you feel like an outsider, or that there's gossip or there's judgment or there's people looking you up and down. I think we all have had that feeling. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Dr. Vanessa just mentioned culture. How can organizations help with creating inclusive work environments that cater to a diverse range of needs and different needs, different people, really? There's teams, people, organizations.
I think, again, starting from the top, right? So you have to have the right sense within the management that speaking up and talking about topics that are important for everyone is something that we encourage, right? The speak up culture. you want to make sure that you have an open ear for everyone's opinion, and that you have a continuous dialogue about what is important for the individual, what is important for the team, what is important for the manager and the organization. I think you need to offer some possibilities for people to give anonymous feedback, employee engagement survey, things like that. I think you need to give opportunities for people to also share things that are in a safe space, right? So providing that opportunity for every individual to come forward, that is really, really important. And I think if things turn really very, very difficult, something like an employee assistance program is very important to provide an opportunity for employees to speak with somebody outside of the organization when they don't find enough help within the organization.
Thank you. Ching, if I can come back to you. Do you have an opinion on what a critical barrier that we have today to fostering belonging in a workplace is from a social context?
So I think one of the big things in our modern society today is talking about women and returning to work after having a baby. So I think this one is a big subject because I've been in a situation where a lot of mothers have told me they've got the mum's guilt after returning to work, having a kid after 3-4 months, and then going to work feeling that they aren't able to perform, or going back to work and feeling that the work arrangement has changed to allow them to be a bit more flexible, but at the same time, a bit of like a demotion. And then those that choose to then decide not to continue on with their career because their job is important as a full-time mom. So I think in this instance is making sure that there is a safe space for the returning mothers to have that conversation, or the surveys, or like I said, the assistance programs, that they are able to come back, but also be at their best, but also have their role at home as a mom too. But when they're at work, it's like, I do my best here. I can speak, and I can hear, I can be heard. But at the same time, also, it's not just, my motherhood doesn't just define me as a mom, right? So I think it's creating that environment where we can be open and have that conversation in the workplace.
Thank you. Actually, Michael, you have the microphone, so I'll come to you.
Yeah,
So
here we are.
Where do you feel you belong?
That's a very good question, right?
Big question.
So for me, 2 answers, right? We didn't script that one. So I really, so I have a family, and we are really, really close, right? So I've got 2 teenage girls. Congratulations on the boy. I can honestly tell you the best is yet to come, in both the good and the horrible way. But I think really belonging for me is the private life, right? And having some fulfilled private family life. This is really, really important to me. And then the other one is, I think I've got an awesome job. I think I've got the best possible team. I think we really have a very good, open and honest work culture in our company. I think I really belong there, and I wouldn't have stayed 20 years if it wasn't the case, right? So I came from consulting. I wanted to stay 3 years and then hop on to something cool. But here I am 20 years with the company, right? So it's been fantastic. And why has it been fantastic? Because it's given me so many opportunities to learn and grow, right? So learning and growing all the time, constantly, that really fulfills me, and that makes me happy and belong.
Thank you. If I could come to you, Dr. Vanessa. In terms of communication, in terms of both personal and as a group, how important is that to developing belonging in the workplace?
I think it's everything. I mean, belonging, you feel a sense of belonging through the interpersonal connections that you feel at work. I mean, work, when you go to work, it's not about the role, it's not about the building, it's about your manager, your team members, the collaborations you have with colleagues, the people that you work with. I think this all gives that sense of belonging. I mean, plus the fact that, yes, right, the work should be the right work for you. But I think greater than that, it's that sense that you go in and you feel, like I mentioned, accepted, included, valued, right? So I think communication has a big thing. And, like what Michael said, it's about culture. So, you have the experience where in some cultures, right, everybody fends for themselves, and there isn't there isn't that setup of, okay, you know, our team does lunch together. By default, good days, bad days, rainy, sunny, we're always doing lunch. And I've been in organizations where every day it's like, oh no, I have to decide who to do lunch with, versus organizations where, you know, hey, you know, it's an open table, come and join us. So I think these nonverbals or these cultural setups, right, are quite useful for a sense of belonging. Psychological safety that leaders or managers establish as well, keeping the communication channels open, you know, apologizing, being open to share your struggles, recognizing people, giving people credit. All these small things create psychological safety, communicate the fact that, hey, we're all in this together. You know, we're on the same team. We value each other. We run together as one. And you know, I think the other question that you had, which I didn't answer, on how belonging and then, you know, how it relates to burnout, right? I think belonging can be a great buffer against burnout, because, you know, it not only sets kind of like a armor against or a foundation against stress coming and feeling overwhelmed and feeling all alone and then burning out, because you always feel like, hey, you know, I've got people to talk to, I've got people to bounce off ideas with, share the load with, and it also can be really motivating because you feel like, you know, I'm doing this for my team. We've got a shared goal, you know, and you know, when I need ideas, we can always ideate together, and so it's a team effort. Yeah,
I mean that definitely resonates with me. The team effort is something that really drives me. I know that other members of my team will agree, because we talk about it all the time. It's the shared sense of collaboration, the shared sense of achievement when something goes right. I'd like to go to Ching. Could you give us one key takeaway you'd like to leave the audience with from today's discussion, whether it's on burnout, well-being, or...
Yeah, so I think it's really important to set once a week or twice a non-negotiable time. So this is time that you don't reschedule, whether it's like catch up with a friend or going for an exercise class. It's like that time is set. I need to do this, because I think it's really important then that you have that mental health that you're taking care of, and also the energy, like looking after yourself. So non-negotiable time is really important. And also just catch up with a friend. I think it's really important to then support them.
Absolutely. Thank you. Michael, it's the same question to you. What one takeaway from a corporate perspective would you like the audience here to really
thank you. From a corporate perspective, I always have two, right? How can I get so my strong advice for individuals is always lean into your discomfort, right? So my team's probably gonna laugh because they've heard me saying this more often. I really think if you feel that something is not right, you know, lean into your discomfort, come forward, speak with your manager, talk to your colleagues, speak with somebody that you trust, and make sure that you are heard and that your feelings are heard. And then for managers, my advice always is the same. If you see it, then say it, right? If there is a colleague, a team member that you've realized something's not going as planned, speak with the team and say, hey, you know, what's going on? Is there anything that I can do to help you, right? That will be my two advices.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I really like what you said about making sure you have that open conversation, right? That's not about work, but it's about their well-being, right? Like, I'm here to talk about how you're doing, not how the assignment or the deadline is doing. So I think managers having that conversation, where it's a safe conversation, where you're talking about how can I support you, and how is your stress level, and what needs to be done to help you, right? Whenever you sense that someone could be at risk of burning out. But I think for me, you know, I'd like to share this, right? Someone once asked me, you know, how do we manage burnout? Because, you know, the reality is that, yes, we can't replace people, and people are overworked. That's the reality sometimes. And I guess I read a definition before, which I thought was very useful. Burnout happens in you know, a person's perspective when they feel disconnected from things that are meaningful to them. When they feel like, I'm just doing this and I don't know why I'm doing this for, and it's becoming less meaningful to me and I'm tired of this, right? So I think my key response would be make time for the meaningful. So if you're a manager, or if you're someone who feels like, I'm losing perspective, essentially. Make time to schedule in, time to surface up, come up to the surface, see that bigger picture, do what's meaningful for you, be it like a workout or, attending your kid's concert or taking a 2-day weekend holiday. Just reconnect with what's meaningful and then come back again. I think that will really help.
Thank you. Well, look, I can see lunch very slowly being put up the back and it's making me hungry. But so I'd just like to say thank you to all the panelists. And I'd like to open to the floor for questions. If we could bring the Slido questions up, that'd be fantastic. Oh, sorry, I've just kicked that over. I'm going to stand up, otherwise I'm going to fall off the chair. There's one for me. Lovely. Let's start with that. So Patrick/Michael. So Michael, we will need your answer. How do you see yourself as leaders balancing the need to prevent burnout whilst creating a culture where people feel they belong and are valued? Shall I go?
You want to go first?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I think it's all about understanding the individual that you work with. If you know someone is driven by achievement, then you must give them reasons to achieve things. If you know people are driven by inclusion and community, then it's making sure they feel part of a team. In terms of preventing burnout, again, it's about seeing the signs. It's about being a human rather than a robot, understanding what people respond to, how they respond to certain situations, and what causes stress and what alleviates stress. Michael?
Yeah, I think everybody's in a different space, right? Everybody's got different worries. I mean, people are worried about kids, about home, about hobbies, whatever it may be. You probably don't know, right? We see people in the workplace and you measure them according to the output. But the main item is to understand where people are coming from and what is really keeping them awake at night, right? And that only goes through conversation. If you don't have the conversation, you don't know what people are going through. So for me, the main item is to stay connected to people and to understand what drives them. Not always super easy, because you need to have openness from the other end as well to share that. And it's very hard. So you need to build that level of trust, first of all, before you can have an honest conversation.
No, I completely agree. I don't think there would be any high-performing team in the world where there isn't a really strong element of trust. It's just such a key part of a team for me. Is there anyone here that would like to ask a question on the microphone, or shall I keep going on the Slido? I will keep going on the Slido. Let's go, Ching. How can organizations measure the success of their mental well-being and belonging initiatives, and what does good look like in terms of mental well-being and belonging? Maybe the second question.
Okay, yeah, what does good look like?
Yeah.
I think it's important, firstly, I think a lot of companies nowadays are doing this, actually. I was having a discussion with Vanessa prior to you all coming. There's a lot of gatherings now that's been happening, and mental health days. So I think this helps to boost employees' health, and I think the performance is much better because they've got that community. So I think when we were discussing policies that she's been involved in various companies, it's moving in that direction of growth in the physical and also the mental space, which is important.
Thank you. Vanessa, Dr. Vanessa, I'll come to you for the first part of that question. How can organizations measure the success of their mental well-being and belonging initiatives?
This sounds like the ROI question that I get a lot.
Money wasn't it?
Yes. I think, to tackle this, we really need to take a longer term view. I think human change takes time. So just because we build in programs, education, awareness, it does take time for people to adjust, respond, inculcate, and actually let it sit in and improve things, right? But on the other hand, when you put in things like EAP, for example, or even mental health champions on the ground, peer supporters, I think you can actually measure the usage or utilization or take-up of these things. And I would suggest that the higher engagement, the higher utilization, the better, right? So some people come to me and say, oh no, it's just showing that, there's something going wrong. I say, at least people are talking about it. So I always encourage that these things, are shouted out, that people know where to call, know who to turn to when they do have issues that they need to talk about. So that's one thing. I think another thing that you can do is, of course, engagement surveys, well-being surveys, employee listening, to really understand how well-being is, how mental well-being is going in an organization.
Thank you. Do we have any more? I think we've got time for one more. Oh, the top one's a good one. Michael, I'll come to you to start on that one. So how do organizations ensure that mental well-being is challenged or engaged, not strained or stressed?
Maybe coming back a little bit to what you said earlier on EAP, right? I think a lot of leaders, when you have the conversation about, we want to implement this, there's then always the question, how much does it cost, right? And what benefit do I get? And what is the usage data? And blah, blah, blah. I always say, you don't need it until you need it. And when you need it, you really need it desperately, right? So I think to that first question, so I think every organization has to make a call on where do they stand and how much stress can they put on the organization, right? Obviously, if you're in a good, healthy financial situation, that is easier said. And then if you're going through a stressful period, then that is probably something that you need to pay close attention to, right? And how do you pay close attention to? If you put the whole organization under a lot of stress, you need to find ways to find out what stress level your employees are currently on at. And how do you find that out? You try and ask people, right?
Thank you. Where do we want to go next? There we go. Ching, how can we support a friend who we think is facing burnout?
Okay, so
friend, not colleague.
So conversations, I think check in on them, having conversations, take them out for a coffee, chat openly about what they're going through. Don't offer them solutions. I feel like just talk it through, because they've more or less probably figured out how they're going to get their solution, but they just need a safe space for them to share their opinions. And they go for a workout.
Or one of your classes.
Yeah, one of my classes.
Do we have any more?
I'm the handler here.
We've got some questions that I think we've probably covered a little bit.
I think from a clinical standpoint, if I may add, of course, if you know somebody is going through something, it would be good if you can, be aware of the resources that are available. People who are under stress or in certain states may not have that clarity to actually know that, wow, something's happening and I need to reach out. So if you know numbers, good coaches, counselors, support groups that they can turn to, I think it's good to provide that as and encourage them to seek help when they need to.
Yeah, being a conscientious individual is something we should do at home, at work, basically everywhere we are. So that resonates with me, of course. So I'd just like to say thank you to all the panelists for their honest and thoughtful contributions, and thank everyone that's asked questions and come today to listen to this really important topic. We've explored what thriving looks like, how to recognize and respond to burnout, and how to create workplaces where belonging and well-being are not just aspirations, but the reality of day-to-day life. Before I wrap up and we go to the lucky draw with James, just like for everyone here to individually think about the ground that we've covered today and take one thing away with you. Sometimes the most powerful way to capture learning is to do, and a single word, a phrase, a thought, an action that you can do over the next day, 7 days, month, to help the community around you, to help yourself, apply it to your work life, apply it to your personal life. It really takes all of us to create change, so every little helps. James, lucky draw. I hope everyone's registered, because if you haven't, you're out now. Sorry. Can I win?
Yes. Thanks a lot, Paddy, and to our dear panelists. As we wrap up, we'd also like to thank our panelists for very useful insights today. we have prepared a small token of appreciation for our dear panelists as well as our moderator. Can I kindly invite the CEO of Canopius and Munich Re, SK and Tobias, to present the tokens of appreciation to our dear panelists.
Okay.
It's all here, only 4 pieces, so maybe two each.
This mic on. Thank you. It's gonna like you? Yes. It's got more hair. Oh, cute.
Okay.
Oh my God, this is no hair.
Can we all take a group photo with the prizes as well, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, SK. Thank you, Tobias. And thank you once again to our dear panelists and moderator. Okay, that brings to our event to the conclusion. To our virtual participants, thank you so much for joining us virtually. The next segment is the lucky draw. So if you're joining in virtually, we hope you found this discussion very valuable and have a great day.